G'day everyone, welcome back to Meadowcroft Farm. My name is Angela and Ian is around somewhere. Oh, he's gone to check on the Durians. The plan for this morning is to propagate some Canistels by cuttings.
So after this last rain event, we lost a heap more. I suppose everybody's got different opinions, but for me, I'd rather grow something that you can grow successfully and consistently every single year. No point fighting Mother Nature, she'll always win.
Most of these trees are grown from cuttings, some of them are grafts, but most are cuttings and they seem to strike pretty easily. So we've got some gaps that need filling, as you can see. I think we probably need to do some weaving of these side shoots and too.
Clips, and also taking some of the excess, too many branches here.
So that's another job we've just found ourselves.
Well, this serves you right for coming down here.
So for the Canistel cuttings, we just do tip cuttings.
3 inches?
Yeah, thereabouts.
What's that, 3 inches? 75 mils? Don't want the ridiculously vigorous like this, because it will end up just being one very long, tall piece of wood. Something a little bit calmer like this, and that branch is better than this very vigorous wood.
Yeah. So I do cut it a bit longer to start with, because then when I go to actually pot it up, I can trim it down to where I want it to then.
Yeah, this end, in half an hour or so, will have started to dry, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll recut it when we get up to the house, but I do pull some of the leaves off while I'm down here. And
do you just throw them on the floor and create a mess for me?
Yeah.
Okay then.
So pull some of the leaves off just so that it's not losing too much moisture while I'm collecting. And with the top leaves, I just leave about 3 or 4 top leaves and trim them down. And I can trim them down more when I get up there if I want to.
Yeah.
And then just select wherever I'm going to bring it back to, rooting hormone, pot it up, and fingers crossed.
But they're not too bad, are they? They're relatively easy.
They're relatively easy to strike.
I mean, you just did them in a shade tunnel first season, didn't you?
Yeah, just as an experiment without any misting, or I did it in the wet season, so it was quite humid anyway, and
overcast,
without needing it to really be in a humidity chamber, because it was quite humid. I put them in the shade tunnel and we got a really good success rate from that.
Yeah.
So
you're going to carry on?
I'll carry on. Probably need to count up how many we need then.
Right, well I'll go around and work out what we need.
Okay.
You start gathering.
Okay. Okay, so I've collected up some of the Canistel cuttings. I'll probably need to go and get some more, but I really want to get these potted up and then I'll go and do a second batch. I am going to put them into my little humidity domes, and I've got my little sensors here which tell me what the temperature and the humidity is. So right now, just outside, we've got 74% humidity and 29 degrees, which is really good for striking our cuttings. But obviously overnight that humidity and temperature may drop, so it might be worthwhile me putting them in the humidity domes. And if this temperature and humidity does get too high inside the domes during the day, I can always open these vents and then just close them off at night time just to keep that temperature and humidity up. So some of the things that you need to do your cuttings are your secateurs, obviously, and grafting knife. I use the grafting knife to make the final cut on the stem because it's really sharp and gives you a nice clean cut. Obviously, both of these need to be cleaned because we need to eliminate the risk of any diseases that might be sitting on them from previous use. So I wipe them down with this isopropyl alcohol. Now this is a more concentrated version than what you would find in the chemist or the pharmacy. So I got this from the hardware store and I found that to be the best. It evaporates really quickly and cleans off your tools. The other thing I did was wash out my humidity cribs because I had used them for jackfruit cuttings previously. So I've washed them out in diluted bleach solution, again, just to reduce the risk of any diseases that might be on the surfaces in there from previous use. And then I've got my potting mix that I've already mixed up. So this is just a mix that's used for seeds and cuttings. And I've got the hormone solution. So I usually prefer to use Clonex, but they didn't have any, so I've got Rutex instead. So the Clonex that I usually use is the red Clonex, which has a higher concentration of the butyric acid. I think it's 8 grams a litre. So this one is more like the purple Clonex at 4 grams a litre. So we'll see how they go. The higher the concentration, that's what you would tend to use on hardwood cuttings. And the Canistels probably are semi-hardwood, I guess, that I've taken. So we'll give this a go because that's what I've got and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we want the cuttings to be about that long, a few inches. So firstly, I make a cut just with the pruners. Then I'll get the grafting knife and I'll just shave off the sides, which then increases the surface area for the cambium layer. So more chance of roots developing if we increase the surface area. And then pop them into the Rutex solution. I'll do a few of those and then I'll pot up, and then I'll do another batch and then pot up. Okay, so I finished 2 trays, and then before I put the top of the chamber on, I just give them a light spray just to add some moisture to the leaves and dampen down the pots. The humidity in the chamber, created in the chamber, should keep them nice and damp. Come down to the Canistels. We are training them onto the trellising and removing any of the branches that we don't want.
Sit, stay. Oh no, not that sort of training. Want to get the angle of the side branches sort of 45 degrees. Like I've said before, if you have them too upright, they get too vigorous. Horizontal descent suckers, so just a nice steady angle. And then here, there's a lot going on here. So if you look at this branch, this is coming straight out from the front, so we don't want that. This straight out from the back, don't want that. So I suppose basically start by removing the obvious ones. Then there's too much here. It would, if you let these continue, it would be too crowded. You wouldn't get the light, what we keep on about, the light interception. So we've got a reasonable gap between these branches and the bottom ones of these, which will allow for secondary branches to come off. So I am going to leave that branch and that one. And then we'll be looking at more branching just up here slightly. So I'm going to put a clip on this because that's reaching that wire there.
And all the branches get weaved in and out of the trellis wires.
Well, we've got 5 wires here. The ideal is that the top wire, it goes behind the top wire so that it can't lean out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's on an angle, it would be tempted to lean even further. So however it works, if you've got 4 wires or 6 or 5, the plan is start at the bottom in a way that it ends up behind the top wire.
Top.
Okay, let's move along. So it's, in our case, it's behind the bottom wire. So then if you bend, don't try and bend too sharp, and they're quite flexible.
And then we just use these little black clips, plastic clips.
These clips are designed for this wire. So this wire from memory is 2.65 mils diameter, and these clips are designed for this. I think they come in quite big boxes, about 5,000 to a box, and they just clip on and you can pop them off quite easily. They do in time become sort of a little bit brittle.
Yeah, we've reused these over and over again, haven't we?
So you'll see, like, they should have this little clip on both ends, but they become somewhat brittle and sometimes you lose one of the ends. But we've had these for a few years.
Yeah.
Fairness.
And now we're only going to really need them for the canistels.
And even then, only until, like, once the branch is hard enough, you don't really need them.
Yeah.
If you've weaved them in and out, it's just a matter of shaping the tree while the branches are flexible and growing.
Yeah.
So, first of all, remove stuff that's pointing to the front. This one here is kind of going off. Missed that one. That's the point. This side branch here is a little bit too acute, the angle. So I need to bring this down somewhat. That looks a bit better. This one needs to come in front. So you don't want too much growing back in here. So take them, just tip prune that. This one here is going to come off completely. because that was growing too parallel there. This tree on the left here, because there's nothing there, had been allowed to get probably a little bit bigger. If you look through the trellis, you'll see on the other side a tree there. So
yeah,
that is midway between these two.
yeah.
So this tree should not grow once they're all established. This tree should only come level with that one opposite.
And not beyond it.
And then this one would grow here and meet it. But after this harvest, that one's going to have to come back.
After this harvest, that's code for Ian does not want to cut off any fruit.
No, I will cut some of them off. 2 together, so I'm going to get rid of that one. There's 3 on this branch, so I'll get rid of that and that. There's 2 here, so if you look at this now, here, we've got a bunch of fruit. So the one on the top that wouldn't necessarily be shaded by foliage, that one goes. At the bottom, those 2 will go. What I won't remove is this one that's just beginning to set fruit, because the canistels, I've said before, will fruit or flower 3 or 4 times in a year. So we leave them on and they will be this sort of size. When we're harvesting these big ones, these will be that sort of size.
Following on.
Yeah, and then there'll be another flowering after that.
Okay.
So back to what we were doing.
Yeah, I was just about to say, this is so typical of Ian.
I've got a lot going on inside this tiny little head.
Okay, come on, back over here. We're back on this tree.
Okay. Right. So this branch here is clipped there, but we can clip it. That's behind that one, so in front of this one. If there's too many leaves, just pull them off. Because if you close them up, that's where mites or whatever can...
bugs hide in them.
This one can be clipped here. If it's too pliable, too green, the wood, be careful of clipping it and trying to force it somewhere, because it can bend the branch. And then it develops in that bent shape. So wait till it's reasonably firm if you're going to try and pull it over any sort of distance. That's I'll take that one off. What are we looking at here? I'll tip prune that to stimulate it to branch. These 2 that are going directly up, take them off, because I want the branches to be coming out, as it were. Oh, a lot going on up here, so that's going inwards slightly, as is that one. So I'll leave those 2. It's in front of the wire, so that's behind the wire. I'll leave that as it is. And then these 2 here are quite close together, so I'll see which ones look better, and I'll remove one of them, whether it be that one or that one, I don't know. Maybe every 2 months, every 3 months, come along, do a little bit of pruning, a little bit of shaping, because the shape that you develop now, you're stuck with kind of forever. So you want to get it right now.
That looks heaps better. What are you doing, little fella?
Stop eating anthills.
Are you on the hunt for canistels? We found Stumpy down here a few days ago, and occasionally before season we'll get the odd canistel that ripens up early. Just the odd one sometimes come early, and so they usually drop off and Stumpy as mid-morning snack. Okay, well, we'll just leave it there, I think, for this week, folks. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.